Hello, beautiful alchemist. Happy February. I am really interested to see what this month has in store for us now that we made it through the first month of 2026. How was January for you? We started out the year, of course, in Capricorn energy, and that is where we talked about having so much energy, focus, attention around our goals and what our ambitions are, and even just envisioning, what we may want to experience in this year ahead. And so, with that, some people get a little stressed kind of thinking about these things. Some people, it's very exciting. But this energy of the first month, from what I heard, just what people were going through, um, there's so many reasons that a lot of people experience January as one, flying by so quickly, but also just feeling very, very reflective and introspective, interestingly enough. So I'm really curious to see how the first month was for you. Now, as I mentioned, we were in Capricorn season. That does highlight our ambitions and goals and so on. But by January 19th, the sun had moved into Aquarius. So happy birthday to all of my fellow Aquarians out there. And Aquarius has a very different energy than Capricorn. So traditionally, they are both ruled by Saturn. So they both have this essence of, structure and determination and being diligent in perhaps we'll say like what they believe in or putting in the work with whatever it is that I would say they're not afraid of work, these energies. Yeah. But in a more modern astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which is considered more of like a rebellion energy, more of a disruptive, kind of unpredictable energy. And this can really cause, shake up, but that's what's necessary in order for significant change. Aquarius is also considered like the futurist and thinking ahead and for the greater good. It's considered like a humanitarian type of energy, but it's funny because I was thinking, looking out in the collective, um, it's very evident of the unpredictability and the disruption and what's being shaken up, and how on the back end it is causing a lot of people to come together in a very communal type of way. You see where we have different kind of events cause, neighbors to support each other and people to really reach out and support each other. And that reminds me so much of, this Aquarian energy and this Uranian energy, Uranus energy. So, anyway, that's the energy we're moving into. We start out February in Aquarius season. And in a more personal way, Aquarius really asks us to dare to step into what feels most authentic to us, stand out from the crowd. A lot of times, even I think unconsciously, people will kind of follow the the ways, the thoughts, the behaviors, the interest of whomever they are in association with. And it's because of this like want, this desire to feel a sense of belonging. It doesn't feel good in a lot of ways to feel separate from or to feel like an outcast or to feel like, again, like you just don't belong. And so a lot of people will conform to whatever the majority is saying within their arena of their life, because, again, of that sense of belonging. Aquarius likes to disrupt that. So Aquarius says there's nothing wrong with being around people who have similar interests or similar beliefs as you. But what's more important in this energy is really honoring, though, what is true to you. What are your actual beliefs? What do you actually believe in, what matters to you, what do you think is for the greater good. These kinds of reflections that I want to say put emphasis on our independent thinking and having the audacity to think out of the box. Aquarius coming after Capricorn. Capricorn is often associated with more tradition. In a collective sense, it's often associated with like government structure, these sorts of things. Aquarius says, no, we need to disrupt things in order to create significant change. There may be certain things that aren't working in a collective scale or don't have consideration for the greater good of all. So, this energy, again, I think we're seeing it play out a lot of ways collectively, but in a personal way, what is disrupting for you? What's interrupting old cycles, patterns, behaviors, old traditions for you that you perhaps don't feel aligned with anymore? What doesn't make sense to you anymore? What part of you is finally becoming more loud and inspiring you to say, this is the truth of what I think. This is actually what I believe. This is what I'm actually curious about. And what is your relationship to community? Now, the whole idea of community and out there and humanitarian with Aquarius can look like many things. Community could be something as close knit as your family, your friend circle, but then going broader, it's really about, again, the greater good. It's being a part of groups that may contribute in some way to supporting others. It's not very I focused, it's not very self centered, this type of energy. But I would say in this, it's important to also recognize what is close to home. So, one of the, I say, pitfalls of this energy is losing sight sometimes of what is close to home and even the importance of nurturing, those connections that are closest to us, especially if we're giving all of our attention to what's out there. And what's out there is not just, activism and these sorts of things, which are associated with this energy as well. But even out there could be your career, your job. Like I said, Aquarian isn't afraid of hard work. And a lot of Aquarian, if you have it as a significant placement in your chart, they tend to be workaholics. And so again, it's a great energy to inspire our independence, our individuality, future thinking, independent thinking, but it's also important in this energy to strike a balance between what matters close to home in conjunction with our relationship with what's out there, whatever that may be for you. So the other thing is that Aquarius is fixed air. And so it's very much associated with the mind. A lot of people think that Aquarians are detached or sometimes seem oblivious, but it's really, they're in their head. They're thinking ahead. They're thinking about other things that are beyond the typical conversations that usually people are having. And so we can seem oblivious at times, or we can seem, you know, detached in the sense that we're not attached to perhaps what everyone else may seem to be. But it's just because this energy tends to dance a lot in the realms of the mind. And that's another thing with this energy. The balance is, yes, allow yourself to really, I want to say, go deep in your thoughts, go wide, go weird in your thoughts with the Aquarius energy. However, make sure you don't get trapped there. Make sure you still have that balance of having your feet on the ground at the same time. Interestingly, the teacher of the month, based on the Energetic Alchemist Oracle, is the Oracle. That's the card. And it is related to the High Priestess in Tarot. And if you are watching this video, you see that the oracle is standing in front of two golden pillars, and in her hands, she has one goblet that has water pouring out, and then she has a symbol for the sun signifying fire in the other hand. So she is really representative of balancing and unification within our own being that allows us to have clarity within our higher mind, higher consciousness. So I think one of the big keys for us this month is allowing ourselves to not get trapped just in the analytical and overthinking and going over things again and again from the same angle, but rather allowing ourselves to be meditative and allowing the mind, the consciousness to expand, to be more aware of our own higher intelligence that can pour in and meet with the analytical, then starting to inform us in a different way, giving us a broader scope, giving us a wider understanding around what we think we may already know. So the oracle is, I always think of like balancing both hemispheres of the mind, of the brain, or that unification between the analytical and intuitive. What happens when they work together, when they are harmonized? And then again, what does our perspective become? What is our higher view? What is that relationship to higher mind? So you may want to think about that or observe that within yourself, I should say, as we go into this month. What lens or what level of consciousness are you observing your life from? Where are you making decisions from? How are you viewing yourself? And again, how are you in relationship to whatever community looks like or means for you and your life? So, later in the month, we move out of Aquarius into Pisces, which is mutable water. So we'll go even deeper into that intuitive realm. But we start out the month with the dance between the analytical and the intuitive, and then go a little deeper into the intuitive. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But in terms of the energies of this month, based on what is going on astrologically, there are just a few events that I want to highlight because they contribute to the type of energies we will be dancing through collectively. So if you get your ink pen, you can take note of what's coming up and have some consideration of how these energies show up in your life. And remember, it's not about prediction, so to speak. It's more so as we encounter these different kind of energies, however we encounter them individually, we have an understanding of what's going on cosmically. So then we can be more mindful in how we navigate rather than feeling perhaps confused by what is going on. So the first event is the very first day of February. On February 1st, we have the full moon in Leo. Now, the full moon, whenever the moon is full, the sun is in its opposite sign. The sun and moon are in opposition. So Aquarius and Leo are, on this axis of, I always think of the Aquarius Leo relationship. There is some aspect of recognition with on that scale, coming from different lenses or points of view, but it's also in a lot of ways, I want to say, boldly accepting who you are and who you came here to be, soul level. So there's a lot we can learn from the Leo energy in this, but then also a lot we can learn in the Aquarian energy and where the middle ground is. So, anyway, with the full moon being in Leo, we think about the moon as being more internalized, more of our inner working, whereas the sun is the outward expression. So, when the full moon brings us in to that feeling of what we are full of, with Leo being the influence here, this is a great time to consider, where do you need to shine? And where do you feel a desire, or how do you desire to be seen? How do you want to be seen? How do you want to shine? Is there any area of life where you have been hiding, perhaps, or that you have not given yourself an opportunity to get the recognition for what you feel is, you know, an area that you shine in, something that you have that you would love to contribute in some way. This energy is really great to reflect on that, have consideration for your relationship to being seen and being recognized in whatever capacity you have a yearning for, or that just feels like true and authentic to you. But also, this energy with Leo, I always think of perhaps you may be feeling a little spicy and wanting to have some fun in the arena of romance or relationship, or just, again, having some kind of recognition on your path, whatever you are feeling called to. This full moon will say, go ahead and feel it, go ahead and claim it, and shine. Allow yourself to own it. But whatever it is, make sure that it really is tied to this feeling of making you experience that feeling, that frequency of excitement, of joy, of, creativity, that it really is something that lights you up passionately. In this beginning of the month, this lunation, you definitely don't want to sweep under the rug that which makes you feel passionate. So, a few days later, on February 3rd, we have the planet Uranus, which I said is the modern ruler of Aquarius. It stations direct in Taurus. Now, as I mentioned, this energy is known to be a bit disruptive and unpredictable, but in the influence or in the energy of Taurus, it then brings about this focus and perhaps disruption or unpredictability around finances, stability, our sense of security. Now, this energy was in retrograde since September, so you may have had a lot of reflection or things coming up, even if it wasn't actually happening. It may have just been very, very clear in your awareness, your innermost self, what was highlighting for you around these themes of finances, stability, your sense of security. For some people, you may have actually experienced some shakeups in that arena. But now until April 25th, it is going to be moving direct. And so, whatever have been the reflections or interruptions in this area, you do want to observe the way this energy is now moving forward around your sense of security and stability. Now, what's going to happen on April 25th is Uranus will then move into Gemini for 7 years. And so then the energy around disruption or change or unpredictability will move out of the themes of Taurus and then into the themes of Gemini, which are more around our, connections, communication, these sorts of things. And keep in mind that unpredictability or disruption isn't necessarily bad. It can be uncomfortable, but it's not necessarily something you want to be afraid of, but rather consider, where has disruption in your life, or where have you encountered any kind of unpredictability that, while it may have been uncomfortable up front, it actually led you to a new opportunity. It actually freed you, liberated you in some way to elevating your life or to have new experience. It pushed you out of your comfort zones. So keep that in mind. This energy, when you hear these kinds of words, yes, again, it can be uncomfortable, but for the sake of what? How may it also be supporting you in some way? And what are you actually being freed from? And what opportunity does that create? So make room for great change as as Uranus stations direct. Now, after this, February 13th until April 12th, we have the planet Saturn, which I mentioned, moving into Aries. Now, Saturn, again, is the classical ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius. And Saturn is, again, it's like a structure. It is considered this energy where we learn our lessons. So it can be kind of a strict, I want to say, uh, even demanding in some ways, that we take responsibility and accountability for either what we're doing or not doing. as it relates to, again, our own evolution. So a lot of people hear this about Saturn, like discipline and structure, and it feels for some kind of daunting. But the truth is, this kind of energy is what does help us grow. And facing our lessons and growing through them, it also produces reward for us. It helps us to have higher wisdom. It helps us to, again, in some ways, potentially free ourselves from what no longer fits or what we're ready to experience in a new way. So, this energy that is really tied to structure, discipline, and all of these things, it's moving into fiery Aries. So you want to think of this time frame. It's kind of like where discipline meets audacity. Remember, the Aries energy is more impulsive, whereas the Saturn energy is like take your time, be deliberate, and do things right. But Aries energy, again, is almost like opposing to that in some way because it, again, it just wants to be impulsive. It wants to run, it wants to make a move. So, in this, we can be inspired to take action. We can be inspired to have the audacity to, pour into, be deliberate, and have diligence around whatever our goals, ambitions may be, but we want to be mindful of the pacing. So, around mid month, if you are feeling the stir of excitement and you want to rush ahead, remember to breathe and be very clear and be very mindful about the structure you are creating around what you're going to pour your energy, your fire into. So, it may feel like a bit of a tug of war. You can feel a bit restless if you don't know how to direct this kind of energy. But remember, again, just breathe and make room to have consideration of what is the best type of structure I can put into place around what I want to pour into. So it can be very helpful. Just be patient in directing your fire wisely. All right. Then on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day, we have the moon will be in Capricorn, which again, very stable structure. It's like the archetypal father type of energy. It will be opposing Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is more expansive, whereas Saturn and Capricorn are more of like a contracted, earthy, grounded energy, right? But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because it's on Valentine's Day. And this kind of energy, the moon will be opposing Jupiter. So it's kind of like in this energy, especially because there's this influence of romance and love because of Valentine's Day. A lot of people may be thinking about how I'm going to, show my love or go on a date or galentines, whatever it is you're going to be. It can bring about this energy of wanting things to be done well, right? With that Capricorn influence, things that are more, traditional, not too over the top. But then with that opposition to Jupiter and Cancer, there also may be this nudge to go all out, but in a nurturing way, So I would say this energy is kind of like tradition meets nurturing, but it may want to feel big. Just remember that it doesn't necessarily have to be so big, especially with this opposing kind of energy. So focus on heartfelt, practical gestures that are big in heart expression, but not necessarily loud, and see how that plays out. Just a suggestion. You don't have to take it. A few days after this, we have the new moon in Aquarius. So during the new moon, this is a time where we focus on intent. We're not necessarily taking action. We're just planting seeds and being intentional about what is it that I want or I intend to focus on or pour energy into. What am I intending to grow, to nurture from here? With it being Aquarius influence, this could be intentions around, again, like your authenticity. This is being boldly yourself, like making an agreement with yourself. I am going to honor my point of view and perspective, or maybe I'm going to stop being in the box or have the limited view that I have. Maybe I need to expand my mind. Maybe I need to meet new people. Maybe I need to have new conversations, these sorts of things. So there's a lot of intention around individuality and your role, again, in community, whatever community may mean for you. But this day is also the Lunar New Year, where we're moving out of the year of the snake, which was all about transformation and release, and we're moving into the year of the fire horse, which is more about moving forward for a sense of freedom. If you want to know more about the fire horse energy, I did a podcast recently, the end of January, with Angie Cho and Laura Morris. They are the founders of Mindful Design School. And in fact, around the new Lunar New Year, this year it'll be on February 15th, they always offer an energy cleanse to help support, prepare your energy for the new year. And they offered 50% off for the Reiki Radio community. So you can go to that particular podcast. Down in the show description, you'll see the link if you want to join the online energy cleanse, which includes the golden cicada ritual. There's just listen to the episode. You can learn more about the fire horse. But yeah, so this energy is really about personal, unique breakthroughs to be claimed. Now, the day after the new moon, the sun is going to move out of Aquarius and into Pisces. As I was mentioning earlier, we go out of the mind, out of the mental arena of Aquarius, and now we drop more into the emotional side of ourselves, which is Pisces, it's water. So, this is why, again, I think the oracle is the perfect teacher of this month, because it also points to that balancing, that unification of mind and emotion. And when we have a nice communication balance, harmony between our heads and our hearts, that also helps us to move into the higher realm of consciousness, or going deeper than perhaps we normally would. So, Pisces season starts on the 18th. Happy birthday to all the beautiful Pisces. This really is an invitation to come and bathe in that realm of intuition and creativity. I always, you know, Pisces is often thought of as like the dreamer. And while they could be, it also reminds me more so of just like creative thought, more expanded thought, being guided in a way that is more based on what we feel and what we sense. It's a different kind of knowing. It's not, it's not a analytical kind of knowing. It's not just based on our history and information that, we got from a book or we got from other people. It's that type of inspiration that we get from divine intelligence that goes beyond perhaps what can be considered uh, just logical. It's more creative and expansive than that. And so it's a very interesting energy. I always wonder what meditations are going to be like, what type of downloads and channeling happens within this season. So I would say pay attention to that. This is a time to dream, to wonder, to listen to spirit, to feel and really understand how to translate what you feel. It's a very empathic type of energy, but it also will bring where we need to create some boundary, because while being able to feel and sense and perceive in a non physical way is a gift, it can also, there's a thin line of confusion or delusion and thinking that everything that we sense is actually our own. So, this is a great energy to also kind of test your skill of how do I recognize and perceive energies beyond myself without confusing them as my own. So, I always think this is a great season to really strengthen your intuition in a variety of ways, but don't float off. Also, stay grounded in this energy. The last thing I wanted to tell you about February is on February 26th, we have the first Mercury retrograde of the year. Mercury will retrograde in the sign of Pisces until March 20th. So, with it being in Piscean energy, remember Mercury is related to our thought process, communication. This is why a lot of people say, you know, be careful of contracts that you sign, cross your T's, dot your I's. Things can be easily misunderstood or miscommunicated when this energy is seemingly going backwards or not moving forward in a way that would be more clear, right? It can be a very reflective time, a very introspective time. You can look at Mercury retrograde as an opportunity to again, be more reflective about your thoughts instead of just attaching to certain ideas, or you can allow yourself to go back and make corrections around, you know, different things that have been communicated, worked on, written, all of these kinds of things. But with it being in Pisces energy, you do want to pay attention to details. Absolutely. Pay attention to detail. There is a heightened chance of things being more blurred, potentially misunderstood or confused. Everything won't always be as it seems on the surface. That's what this kind of energy is like. So, you want to make sure that you yourself are being very direct and very clear in your communication, but also with things that are being communicated to you. Ask questions for clarification. You can do your part to make sure that the misunderstandings are at a minimum. So that is the energy of February. Again, these details are just for you to have in your back pocket, so to speak. So as you go through the month, if you do encounter any of these things, you understand what is going on for us collectively, and you can be more mindful of how to navigate and use these energies for your benefit to support your way forward. If you want to work with me more directly, of course, if you are someone who just wants personal mentoring one on one with your personal path and whatever your focus is in your realm of spiritual alchemy and energetic alchemy, you can work with me. Go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. Primarily with classes, there are online classes available with different topics if you want to expand your education in the realm of energetic alchemy. Of course, I'm working with the Alchemy Circle that goes on every single year, but there's plenty that you can access and learn from and grow through to support you on your path. Just go to my website, theenergeticalchemist.com. And if you haven't already, while you're there, be sure to sign up for the newsletter because that gives you access to some free downloads that also support you on your path. So you'll get access right away to Creating with the Moon and Stars, where you can see these monthly updates, but also get more information about the different energies of the month, what they mean, the different moon cycles, and so on. Um, you also get access to 22 days of transformation, which is it's a class of sorts. And for 22 consecutive days, you watch these short videos. They're like 3 to 5 minutes long with one particular area of focus that also help you deepen your relationship to your own energetic alchemy. So those are free when you sign up for the newsletter, and then you get monthly updates from me about um, the energy of the month, what's going on in terms of classes so that you don't miss out, and what's coming up on Reiki Radio. So I hope you are also enjoying the podcast, and that you do reach out to the guests if you enjoy what it is that they share. And finally, don't forget to download the Energetic Alchemist app. You can get it from the Apple App Store or Google Play for Androids. There is free content available for you there. I do weekly oracle readings that is free on the app, but there's also a membership on the app where you get access to more content and then readings by sign. So there's just so much available to support you in your beautiful journey. I hope you enjoy it. I will see you next month, but until then, remember to always journey in love.